Hello, we're live. And last time I did this, the audio sucked. Now wait a minute to see if things are working here. If you guys are here and you can hear me, tell me it sounds good. Because the last time I did one of these, it sounded terrible. It sounded like a robot. So hopefully this is sounding better this time. Give me a thumbs up if it sounded good, because I don't want it to sound terrible again. I'll try to fix it. But everybody that's here, if this is sounding good, I have so much stuff to show you today, and I just put up a 4K video of the detail in the grain of the leather that I was really happy with how it turned out. What's up, Light Treason? Thanks for coming to hang out. Yeah, Jim, that other video is great. I'm really happy with how the grain character video turned out. And I'm glad this doesn't suck right now. So thanks for coming to hang out, guys. I have a new small batch thing that we just announced, and I'm really excited about it because it's one of my favorite shell colors ever. And I want to show you more color 4. That's a color it's still my second favorite shell color. It's like a close thing with the amaretto. I just love the amaretto now. Sing a G minor. I don't know if I could. I used to have it's a funny story. When I was going to music school, they made you memorize pitches. So they would make you memorize what an A sounded like. And I haven't done it in like over a decade now. So they would make you memorize what the pitch A sounds like, and then they would make you memorize what the lowest pitch your voice can go. And that way you can use sort of like relative pitch to like figure out all the notes. That was pretty hard, but I used to be able to do, like, I probably could sing that for you. Sing a G minor is the best request I've had on one of these live streams yet. I shoot Asher just got my maker's mark in. Excited. I got a 3 to 4 ounce Dublin. Nice, man. I got some Dublin on the table here. Actually, maybe we ship those. A lot of the stuff I put in the grain character video, we just shipped out. M43DA says, do I like color 4 more than natural? Yeah. Although I'd say that natural is kind of like my third. I like natural for a different reason. So the amaretto is my number 1 favorite. It has this really dramatic color shift to it that I like a lot. And I really enjoy the English tan Dublin because it has this nice vibrant orangey tone to it. And the amaretto shell kind of reminds me of that same orangeness that I like in the English tan. So I just love the amaretto for the color, and then that like shift of color. And the color 4, which we'll show you, is just like undeniably beautiful. It's interesting is these days, over the last 5-6 decades, which I haven't been around for, the color 8 has been like the shell color. But back in the day, in like 1912, there was a company here in Chicago called Florsheim, and they sort of popularized shell cordovan in footwear, and they would make things that are now called like gunboats, which are basically long wing shoes. And all of the shoes that they were making back then were either black or color 4. So color 8 wasn't really a thing until a little bit later. So for a bunch of years, the color 4 was like the only color. So I love color 8, but I like the color 4 because it's a little different. It gets a little lighter. It's probably harder to pull off a color 4 shoe, but I like that it's got like a little bit more vibrance and color to it, where the color 8 can sometimes be like too dark. It's kind of the same reason we moved away from the navy shell, and then we moved away from the intense blue shell, and now we're onto the denim blue shell. Especially in a small leather good, you want it to be a little lighter and a little bit more vibrant, because some of those other shades can kind of just read as a black. So that's why like color 4 is just, it's like kind of like a raisin, like a reddish raisin color. It's really nice, and it also has that color shift. I just find it pleasant. And then third, natural shell. I love natural shell. That was sort of one of our first successful wallets that we did, was the natural shell Herbie. And people would write, back then people did blogs, which is kind of weird how fast stuff changes, but like nobody does blogs anymore. But people would blog about how the patina developed on their natural shell herbies, and that's why I like the natural shell herbies too. So I think natural shell is probably my third. I would tie the natural shell with the raw natural, to be honest. They're all really nice, and I'm super spoiled because I get to see all of them. And I guess it says something that even if I get to see all of them, I still kind of gravitate towards the amaretto and color 4. It's pretty nice. A bunch of people are here hanging out. Thanks for hanging out, guys. I figure I'll answer your questions, and then we can look at some of these small batch things. And again, I'm pretty psyched on all of them, but the color 4 stuff I'm really pumped on. Randy Bond says, I'm making a list of stuff to buy as if I don't have enough already. You do have quite a collection, Randy. Yeah. And we're trying to, Horween is trying to continue to sort of push the envelope and get some new looks and different colors and textures and stuff. So we're working with them to keep the ball rolling and get new stuff going. Bravo Bear says, what up? What's up? A quick question to anyone who knows. Does Horween Black Shell Cordovan age into a slight green color? It'll be black in some light. You'll see green. Does this happen? Bravo Bear, that's a really, really good question. And in my experience, which is a significant amount of experience at this point, I've never seen the black fade. It's the only color that I've seen that doesn't tend to change, even in sunlight. And it doesn't tend to change in the way that like a natural shell gets darker when you wear it. It doesn't tend to get darker either. It just tends to stay black. And that's the only color that really does that. The interesting thing is that I didn't know before working at Tannery is you can tint blacks in different directions. And so no black is like a true black. It always has some, like maybe it's a little red or maybe it's a little green, like in the case of the dyes that they use for the shell cordovan. So the dyes that they use in the black shell are like a greenish black, which is why you see like on this piece. So this is black shell. This is the one I polished with a spoon. But on the reverse side, that's why you see these sort of green colors is the migration of this black dye. When it dilutes in water, it tends to turn a little bit green, and it ranges in this sort of range. Sometimes it can be a little darker, and then sometimes it could be a little lighter. But that's a good question, Bravo Bear. Jim Miles says, sorry, Phil, a guy's first shell cordovan experience becomes his favorite. Whiskey shell. # whiskey shell. Yeah, you got that peanut butter jelly coming. I Shoot Astro, good to see you, man. I Shoot Astro says, I just made a watch strap out of Horween russet horse strip. I have some of that exact stuff right here, and we can look at it. I really like the pit tan stuff. Like those horse strips are all pit tanned. They're more dense. They have like a lot more of a veg sort of bite to them. It's like they're more dense. And then the temper has much more like rigidity to it. And I think that has to do with the pit tanning. It sort of like meshes all those fibers in like a little bit more, and then they can perform some operations, which they do for most of the pit tan stuff. You may have seen that like crazy, horrifying machine that's called a glazing jack, which is basically a glass rod on the end of a machine that sort of just like goes like this and pounds the leather. There's another machine called a rolling jack, which is a similar kind of look, but instead of a glass rod on the business end of that machine, it's this like metal roller, and they can really pack in the leathers with a rolling jack. So instead of giving it a shine, it sort of packs it in together. And that's why, especially on like the russet horsehide strips that Horween does, they're rolled really hard. So that's why they're so like dense. The interesting thing about veg is you can dampen all that leather, and it sort of takes that firmness out while it's wet. So you can do some fun stuff, like you can wet mold it around a gun, for example. So there's a lot of people that make gun holsters out of the veg strips from Horween because it molds perfectly around the gun. That you just dampen the leather, form it around whatever gun, and then let it dry, and it will hold that shape. And it's a pretty unique thing about leather. I'd love to see your watch strap too, man. Just got my shipping note, Michael. Michael, your my brother made a point to me to make sure to include your wallet in the video, and we featured your wallet a few times. That's the first wallet that I've seen with a hidden card slot on the Bugs Moran, and everybody in the shop here was sort of raving about your wallet today. And if you want to see that, I just put up another video 20 minutes ago. Andrew England, good to see you. And happy Friday. Andrew says, loving my raw natural shell Frank the Enforcer. I bet you that's wearing in really well. If you didn't take a photo of it when it started, you might want to take one now, because the transformation that happens on that raw natural is out of this world. It gets more golden, gets darker, and then that luster development I think is the coolest part. It almost starts to look like a little bit wet on the surface, which is pretty wild. Chris Deering says, does black shell crease to green? Well, here's a piece of black shell. See if it will focus. So no, there's no pull up in the black shell. And it doesn't, no matter what I do here, it's not really changing colors. Again, this is another one of those things that the only color that I can think of from the cordovan that doesn't really change color. And then just, if you're asking about color 8, yes, color 8 does have a bit of a pull up. It's a little bit lighter if you really pull it and stretch it. So like the shells that I get, I'm not really stretching. We kind of just cut them into our pattern pieces, but a company that might be making shoes or boots or something, they'll cut their leather and then stretch it around a last. I'm going to hit this microphone a bunch, I bet. So they'll stretch that color 8 around the last, and you'll notice like on the toe or like pressure points of that last, you'll notice the color lightens up a little bit, which is interesting because you'll notice that also that these shoemakers will have to finish the shoe again, even after it's been lasted, just to get that color to even out a bit. But yeah, there's a color pull up on any leather that has a lot of waxes and oils in it that is not pigmented and like painted of a finish. You're going to see some pull up. I Shoot Asher says, I'm very impressed with the russet horse. It's beautiful and stiff tempered, which makes nice watch straps and coasters. Yes, and it's going to age really, really well. I want to show you the russet one shots that we made here. Although the one I have here, I'm calling color 8. I think it might be the same as what you have. It's like a little bit reddish brown. Noah Bronk. Sorry, I missed Bravo Bear. Bravo Bear says to tint the black shell into the green color, do you recommend some green cream polish, or is there something better? If you're trying to change this, I've never done that before. You might have luck if you use some sort of thinner to like put some thinner on top of the leather. It might change the color. It's gonna be really hard to make it not look black unless you get something crazy. We've done the tumbled black shells actually. So if you dampen it and get a tumbling mill, which you shouldn't, you can sort of get the color to change a bit. So you might want to try, if you have a black shell that you're trying to change, dampen it, like fully get it soaked with water, and then you can hand tumble it. So put a little bit of pressure and then sort of twist it like this for a long time and do it at a bunch of different angles. That's sort of the same action that the tumbling mill has on the leather, and you'll notice you'll get some more gray out of it. I don't think you'll ever see it get really green. If that's what you're going for, I'm sorry. Noah Bronx says, "Hey Phil, hope everybody's happy and healthy over there." Yes, we are. I had my second COVID vaccine yesterday. 3 people, they're actually out right now getting their vaccine. So everybody in our shop has got their second vaccine now, with the exception of one person. We were able to get the vaccines early because we're a manufacturer, and the city of Chicago put us like towards the top of the list. I believe we're like is like healthcare workers and then manufacturing. So we were some of the first people to get vaccines in Chicago here, which is pretty great. I mean, it for us. I mean, I have my mask. Like we're always wearing masks here, and we're cleaning stuff, and we're opening the windows when we can. But it sure would be nice to not have to like stress about that. And, we've been successful here for the last year. We've been living with this. Everybody's been masking up. Nobody in the shop has gotten COVID. We've also made agreements with each other to like not be stupid outside of here. So we've done it for a year, but it'd be nice to like kind of relax, you know? And then maybe I'll be able to like see my dad and, my family. It'd be kind of nice. But the manufacturing thing makes sense. I'm kind of glad that they realized that if you need to make stuff, like you have to be at a workshop like here. We're not able to make leather on the, or wallets on the computer. Jim Wiles, I have been tempted to order a Dublin belt. I'm afraid the 40 won't fit my fat butt. Do you do a 42? Yeah, I can do a 42. I can do pretty much any size up to a 50. And let me take my belt off, which is awkward. I'm really happy with my Dublin belt. And I've been wearing this one for about a year now. And I'm really happy with how it's worn in. It sort of looks like very heritage. And let me try to give you a better. So I'm just happy with the edges have worn in nicely. It's got this nice sort of like wet look a little bit. Sorry about camera angle here. But I'm really, really enjoying this. This was like one of the first protos of belts that we did. I think it's hard for me to say this. I think this is the best leather for a belt. I'm saying it. I'm pretty confident in that. There's some other leathers that are really nice. There's a version of Chrome Excel that we've done a belt on called Woolly Chrome Excel that I actually love more, but it kind of gives me the same sense of this. There's also something about this orange color with denim. I'm wearing black pants right now. It also looks really good with black. So there's something kind of, I'm a more casual guy, and I feel like this is like the perfect casual belt. I think Matt's back. Matt is back. If you're lucky, maybe we can get Matt to come say hi.
Who's this?
We're doing you want to say hi? We're doing a live stream.
Hey.
You got your second vaccine. So Matt, Michael DeGregory said he got his shipping notice.
He did. The wallet turned out great, Mike.
Yeah. So I lost track of where we're at. Maybe we should make a wallet called Fat Jim. I Shoot Asher says, I'll send you an Instagram message with a picture of it. I'd love to see your shop. That'd be cool, man. Andrew England, awesome. Glad you took a photo. It'd be cool to do like a before and after photo of how that raw natural wears in. Oh, and Matt told you to take a photo of it. That's good. Ivan Morris says, I just got mine. Tony the Ant, Chrome Excel regular. I don't mind it because it's leather and character 5 stars. Awesome, man. And those, I think there's only like, of all the irregulars, we put up like 46 irregulars. I think there's only 2 or 3 left. And I think the irregulars are a pretty sweet deal. So I'm glad that you're able to pick one up in something that you're into. Jim says, I wear a 30 to 40 jean size, but afraid I may scare up the size. Been wearing a mission belt, so the measuring guide rule is hard to do as you recommend in other videos. So I wear like a 34-inch jean, and we size our belts true to size. So this belt is actually more like a 36. So if you're like me, which this does seem common, the belt you want from me is probably 2 inches larger than like your normal jean size. But you can just take your belt right now and measure from this pin of the buckle to whatever hole you use. So you can see I go between this hole and this one, and that center hole is 36 on this belt. I wear a 34 jean. The best way to do it is to measure your current belt and then order exactly that. So if you're like 41 inches to the hole that you're currently using, we can totally make a 41-inch belt. If I have the leather, which I can get more leather. It's hard to wear a mask with glasses. I fog up so fast I can't see what I'm doing. That's why I cut off the beard, because it was just sort of like smushing my beard all over my face, which was terrible. Email me on the belt. We'll figure it out. Michael Cruz is here. Good to see you, Michael. And I swear to God, every time I see your name, I think you're my friend. The guy that works over at the tannery.
His wallet shipped out too.
Matt said that your wallet shipped out too, Michael. Well, what do you say we flip the camera around here? And I wanted to show you some of this Color 4 stuff. I'm just like super pumped on it. John Sanchez says, "Hey Phil, hope you, the wife, and the baby are doing well." Thanks. We are doing well. I'm just not sleeping. Nobody's sleeping except for the baby. But let's move you around here. We'll go to the wallet table. All right. It's going to be a little difficult for me to read the chat, but I'm going to do my best to respond to you guys. So if you want to interrupt me, you should do it. The whole reason I want to do... here, I got to move this mic. The whole reason to do these live chats in the first place is to answer your questions and hang out. So if you want to hang out, let's chat it up. Okay. There are 5 small batch items that are up right now. I think I'm going to start off with my favorite one and work on the focus here. Okay. This is a Fat Herbie in Color 4 shell. And man, look how nice these shells are. I mean, this luster, this is some of the nicer shells that I've ever had, which is why we put them in the small batch stuff. And I should explain, we've kind of got 3 different tiers of product that we make right now. We sort of have like our standard stuff that we make that we try to keep in stock all the time. And those are things like, like an English Tan Dublin Giant the Fox is our best seller right now. So there's the hits that we try to keep up all the time. Black shell, color 8 shell. We try to do natural shell all the time. And then we have an opportunity to get all these different colors of leather too. So I'm trying to find ways to be able to offer that on the site without over encumbering the website and just putting up like a million colors. So what we've done is we'll make small batches of stuff. So like this, we made 5 of these. So this is Color 4 with a reverse, double reverse. And I made them because we have the leather and it's awesome. But we also can do, I guess I don't have a good example here, but we also do the private stock stuff, which is like a 1-of-1 concept. So the small batch is like the private stock, but we make more than one is how I look at it. And maybe they might not be as nutty, but to me, they're just as special. The private stock stuff is really more of like a vehicle for us to be creative and make stuff that like is really, really like wild and exciting for us. Where the I feel the small batch stuff is more like, what are the rare shell colors that we can put onto a wallet, and then we'll do that. So that's what I'm about to show you. Asher says, have you ever used Wicket and Craig leather or Butero? I want to try all the veg leathers this world has to offer. I can't suggest Wicked and Craig enough. I think Wicked and Craig makes a really really good veg, and I and that should mean a lot coming from me because I pretty much only do Horween stuff, and I'm very biased towards Horween. The Wicked veg stuff that I've seen is really really nice, and I like it a lot. So I would suggest picking some of that up. I don't have any here, but they're a really good tannery. Um, Tim Parrish says, I'm loving my second one shot. I found my first one in the snowbank. I think I saw your. Didn't you email that to me? That's so crazy. The leather, unless I don't know what leather got stuck under the snow, but something like this basketball is has some chrome tan to it. So like you might not be familiar, but the Chrome Excel leather is chrome tanned with the vegetable retannage. Any leather that has some amount of chrome in it will be resistant to heat and cold. So it probably should hold up pretty nicely. I would imagine like a shell, like here's a shell one shot here. I can imagine a shell one shot might not hold up as well in the cold like that. I guess I haven't tried it though. But that's all. Now you got two. You can sort of rotate them around. It's funny. I've got this tray of one shots and two shots here. The reason that I started doing these very simple card holders was because I wanted a way to get some inexpensive product in the world and to get more people to be able to experience this stuff. Like, when are you going to be able to try a basketball leather wallet? And this is really interesting. Like, this leather, there's a lot that goes into this that might not be appreciable, in a photo or a video like this. So there's something about having it in hand. And if I'm selling this for $25, it's like a pretty good way to be able to experience some of these things. And I Shoot Astra was talking about pit tan stuff. I think this is the pit tanned horse strip that you might have. I'm calling this color 8. You might have called it russet. But man, that's really nice too. So it's like these kind of ideas, or like here's Cavalier Chrome Excel. Like there's so many different leathers that I just want to show them to you, and I want you to experience them. That's why the one shots came about. So it's kind of interesting that you have two of them now, because that was kind of the goal. Is I want you to be able to have, your hand on each of these different pieces, and that's why I started making wallets. Is I would come across a piece of Cavalier like this whiskey Cavalier at the tannery, and I go, that's really cool. I would cut a little piece off of the side of leather and just stick it in my pocket because I wanted to see what it would do. So that's kind of how I'm feeling about the one shots. It's just a way to be in touch with a bunch of different things. But so we do have new one shot and two shots, but I want to get back to the other small batch stuff. So I'm really excited about this too. This is a raw natural Johnny the Fox. There's only a couple of these also. And the Johnny the Fox is that sort of traditional style. But I think people are going to be into this one because of the raw natural. And that's what I would be into too. The way that this wears in is totally crazy. And it's an experience. I make the analogy of maybe that's how the name of the color came about, but raw denim. Like if you're wearing denim jeans and they're raw denim, they tend to fade to your style. And that's why I like the natural and the raw natural here, is it really turns into your style. So if you totally beat up your leather like I do, it's going to start to look like you pretty quickly, and it really changes. So to me, that's the dream. And I love the raw natural, but this interior is pretty sweet too. Check out all the random dye marks here. We try to cut them to be interesting, like this little stripe right here. Like that's really cool. And then we cut the ink stamp into the center. That looks awesome. So we try to keep it fresh and cool looking with all the small batch stuff. So I think there's only 5 of these. Here's the other one. I think there's only 5 of these raw natural. But look at that drip. They're all a little bit different, but they all have their raw natural on the outside. That's really nice. There's more color 4 stuff. Okay, so back to that. Back to that line of thought. Color 4 double reverse. This is some of the nicest color 4. In fact, it's some of the nicest shells just in general that we've had ever. So we made those double reverse, and then we made these regular. I can't reach the other one. It's too far away. Sorry, you only get to see one. Check out this. Looks like I need to brush this guy actually, which we can do. What's really fun about the color 4 is that color shift. So I probably should present this a little bit better to you. It looks like we put some Sapphire cordovan cream on this and just haven't brushed it yet, which is why you're getting this little bit of haze. I have a brush. Here. Let's get on it. Okay. That should be a little bit better. The color shift in the color 4 is really dramatic, which is one of the reasons I like it a lot. It sort of ranges from that medium brown to like a caramel. That angle, I guess. See how it's like a lighter reddish, yellowy, I don't know, like a yellowy brown, reddish, yellowy. It's kind of like a red caramel. And then if I turn it, it's like a raisin color. It's really cool. So I love the color 4, and these particular shells are just mega, mega nice. It's a really great luster. And just like really dense. I think they're full. Oh, and it does here. I'll put it up to the microphone. It has a really cool squeak. There you go. Enjoy. The squeak here. That squeak that you're hearing, I don't know why that happens, but it seems to only happen on veg tan leathers. So like the shell cordovan is veg. I don't know why it happens, but it's pretty interesting. So those horsehide strips you have should give that same sort of vibe. Here's some more. Oh, I'll save that one for last. But we also did we used that same incredible shell on some bugs. So it looks like I need to brush this guy too. Here. So there you go. It's like really beautiful shade. Sort of medium brown reddish color. Super nice. So we made some Bugs Moran with all color 4, like this guy here. I mean, look at the luster on that. It's amazing. It's like exactly what you want from a piece of shell. It's like a perfect shell. But also we did the reverse interior ears. Check out this one. This is a double. This is wild. This actually is a triple stamp. So we've got the Horween ink stamp on the left, Horween ink stamp in the center, and you can kind of see like a little bit of the measuring machine stamp right there, which it's kind of interesting that people are into that. But I really like the color 4 with reverse. Check out how nice that shell is. Pretty nice. And they're all random, so we have these two here, which are both different. We try, like when we do a small batch thing, we try to make them all pretty consistent because I want to be able to take one photo and have that photo represent all of the items in the small batch. It's pretty nice. So those are the small batch items, but we did a special batch of these here. This is also really special, and I think it's gonna fly under the radar a bit because it's hidden in the 2-shot page. But let's see. How there's a bunch of these. I don't know where they went. Oh, they're there. Okay, so check this out. If you watch that grain character video that I just put up, this leather on the backside of this really cool 2-shot is actually a pit tan deerskin. And I'll give you the long story here. Is there the owner from Horween, Skip Horween, the tannery owner, had an offer to buy some deerskins at a reduced price I guess some guy had like a ton of skins that he had nowhere to go with, and the tannery said, we'll try them. So they ran a small load of these deer skins and tried a few different products. So this is one of the products they tried, and they pit tanned the deer skin in the tannage of Chrome Excel. And I encourage you to check out the grain character video because it will give you a high resolution, like a 4K image of the grain of this. And the grain on deerskin is very specific. In that video, I describe it as kind of linear of a character, and I can almost guarantee, like even if I bring it, let's see how, like even if I bring it right up to the camera here, maybe you'll be able to see that. It has like a very specific grain texture that I have a hard time describing, but it's like a little bit more linear, and it's really, really, really nice. The reason that they don't continue to make that deerskin stuff is because the selections on those deers were terrible. They were just all rotten, so there wasn't much to cut. So they just didn't do it again. But if you want to get your hands on some deerskin, we made 5 of these with a nice like color 8 stained edge. We waxed and burnished that. These are really nice 2 shots. So I'm trying to rep them here because I think they're going to go under the radar, just being in the mix of all the other 2 shots on that same page. So on the front of it, we've got the Western Color 8 shell, which is my favorite texture that Horween does, and I think it pairs really nicely with the Color 8 pit tan deerskin. So there's the larger 2 pattern pieces here are the deerskin, and then that front card holder is the Color 8 Western. These are really nice, and all the edges are super, super nice. Danae in our shop did a really good job making these. The instruction to Danae was to make something to the sense of the private stock, like something that made Danae really excited. And Danae came up with these and this. So there's a Color 8 and a black version. So the black version is black shell with a Western texture, but black Dublin for the larger 2 pieces. And you can sort of, if you've been watching these videos a lot, you'd probably be able to tell the Dublin right away. It's like one of the only black leathers that has this kind of character to it. It's hard to find black leathers with natural grain, and we made these, and they're also really, really nice. Those edges are perfectly smooth and matching color. And then, yeah, again, the black Dublin's really nice. So these are up there, and then we put, a couple other randos of 2 shots up. So this is green with a reverse green, and the back side of it is also green. This is reverse green and green, sort of the inverse of the last one. We get green on the back. This is Color 8 reverse, but it's no, not this one. So this is just Color 8 reverse 2 shot with a really good ink stamp on the back. There's a couple 3 shots in here. So here's another one, Color 8 reverse with the ink stamp on the back. Here's a 3 shot. So this is black reverse. So you got one card holder on the front, a card holder in the center, and then a card holder on the back. That's a 3 shot, which we haven't really announced. Now I got a special note in this one, black splatter. So this is another 3 shot, but we've got really, really crazy dye marks on this piece. Check that out. And I really hope this does it justice, because in person this one's really striking. And we've got those same dye marks on the back. It's really cool. So there's those. Oh, I do want to talk about, maybe this is a longer chat, but I don't really know what this leather is. So sometimes Horween will do development and they don't name things. But what I can tell you is this leather is like really fascinating to me. So if it's hard for me to make an analogy to things that you don't know, but to me this feels like the Latigo leather from Horween, but it's more firm. It's got a lot of bite to it, and it's also corrected So it's like a little bit more rugged of grain character, and you can see a closer demo of this guy in the grain character video I just put up. But this one has like a subtle like wax feel. It's interesting. I can't tell if it's the wax that was tanned into the leather or if they applied like a very, very, very mild wax to the surface. It's hard. Maybe there's no wax at all. It's hard for me to tell. But the bite and the temper of this guy is really neat. So I find that one fascinating. Here's, okay, two more. Too much good stuff today. So here's a bison Chrome XL piece. And this is like a really dark blue, but the undertones and the pull-ups of this color are a lot more aqua. It's kind of like we see on a lot of the blue color leathers where you get that aqua undertone like you can see on the spine here with a darker surface color. But I think the star of the show here is the texture. So there was a shoemaker that I think went out of business. They were kind of big, but they made a lot of bison footwear, and they would use this exact leather, and they would do more like tan shades. But this bison texture on the bison Chrome XL is really nice. The bison without, this is a print, so somebody pressed this texture onto it, but the bison without the print is kind of similar but less consistent. So they had to press it so they could get, a cuttable skin. I'm kind of feeling like I should do some real bison without the print, just to get it into people's hands. I'm kind of into this. Even with the print, I'm kind of into it. So that's pretty neat. And here's another one, for I Shoot Astro. This is another pit tan strip. This is a horse butt strip in a tan color. So this is Chrome XL horse butt. And people are into this, this like these linear striations here. That's what they like or seem to like about the horse butt stuff. What I like about it is that it's dense. It's like, it's also soft at the same time. So I noticed that a lot of the veg tan stuff I like is soft and firm at the same time. That's what this one really does for me. It's very, very, very interesting. And the color's great on it. It's got a lot of nice character. The Pit Tan Chrome XL stuff, I'll give you a close-up of this guy. But the Pit Tan Chrome XL stuff is super grainy. See how grainy that is? It's less polished than the steer hide stuff. And they just make it a little bit differently. But it's really, really grainy for Chrome XL. It's pretty neat. I guess the last one would be this guy here. We can fix the focus. All right. Boom. This is the last one shot I'll show you, and then we'll flip the camera around and answer some questions. But this lizard texture on the one shot, I think turned out really well. There's only one of these, and I thought I'd include it. I'm pretty into the scales being different sizes and shapes. I like that this one has a little bit smaller scales on the top, and then it gets a little bigger on the bottom. I think it's really neat. And there's something about this, the printed shells, like on the Western, like on this. There's something about the texture when they press it in there. It's almost like you get a little bit more color depth, and I'm not sure why that is. It's almost like they're squeezing the color out, so you get a little bit more highs and lows in color, which I find very, very interesting. So that's all the stuff. Thank you guys for checking it out with me. I'm, like I said, some of the nicest color 4 shells, and just generally speaking, some of the nicest shells that we've ever seen here. And these are now up for small batch. So if you're color 4 fan like me, I think I can't suggest that enough. Just like I can't suggest the Wicked enough. And for me, I said this in that grain character video, this is the stunner for me. I really like the double reverse, where you see the shell in reverse, inside and out. That's my stunner. So we'll flip the camera back around here, and I'll answer your questions, and then probably go drink a beer and fall asleep. Let's see. Hello. How's that? All right, Red Cube, you caught another stream. Sorry, I just saw a random comment there. Um, oh, focus, please. Autofocus. There we go. Focus. We did it. All right. Tim Parrish says, I'm loving my second one shot. Found the first one in the snow. We answered that already. Sorry, lost my spot. I Shoot Asher says, someday I'll get a piece of Horween shell and make a wallet with it. I just have to get better with my skills. I would recommend getting this stuff's expensive, man. So if you jank a bevel or something, that's $100 mistake. It's tough. And I noticed you can buy some non-Horween stuff. I was looking at, I think I was looking at Rocky Mountain leather. You can buy some marbled shells in there, but they're like $300. If you want to get the Horween stuff eventually, check out the Tannery Row or Maverick Leather would be my suggestion. But there's a bunch of different, you might not know this, but there's a bunch of different tanneries around the world that make shell cordovan, and they're all different. I did a video almost exactly a year ago called Leather Appreciation 101, where I went through a pile of just about every piece of shell from every tannery that I'm aware of in the world. And we like compared and contrasted them and just sort of talked about them and looked at them. I'm super biased, but the Horween stuff is leaps and bounds beyond everything else. So what I would do would be like buy the cheapest piece of shell you can find from Horween, just so you know what it's about, and then try to see the other tannery stuff and sort of compare it. The big thing you'll notice about the Horween stuff is just like how full and rich it is. It has that soft and firm thing I talk about all the time. That's very unique to veg tan leathers, and some combination tan leathers too. But the Horween stuff is just like so rich and it's very natural looking. Some of the other tanneries have like a little faker of a look. They're kind of firm and boardy. And I'm not trying to slam anything, because that's what I'm trying to say. Like, see it for yourself. But the Horween stuff is, to me, it's like way beyond everybody. Ivan Mora, dude, thank you so much for the tip, man. That's a couple people have sent us tips, and I'm pulling it to buy our team lunch here. So that's really nice of you. We got when we bought this workshop that we're in, there was like nothing over here. And since we've moved in here, there's been like 3 restaurants that have opened up across the street. So it's getting a little dangerous for food. So we got a Chick-fil-A here now, and Panera just opened up. So we'll probably walk over and get them something. We're kind of hater. Like, I've never had Chick-fil-A before. It's pretty good. But there's some like social issues that they got going on. So we've been trying to go more to Panera. But anyways, Ivan, thank you so much for the tip. Like I said, I'm pulling this up to buy everybody lunch. It's really nice of you. I Shoot Asher says, I keep thinking of Captain Morgan private stock when you say it. So here's how I came up with the private stock thing. I'm a guitar player, I'm a bass player, and I've sort of have always been inspired by the wood finishing from guitar makers, and then specifically the marketing that they use. So if you're familiar with like Gibson or Fender, they'll have like different tiers of product, and they'll do one that's like the cheap beginner one that's made in China, and it's $150. And then they have something that they call private stock, which is like a guy in Chicago that's just making one of these a month, and he just makes a fancy thing, and they charge $7,000 for it. So that's why I'm calling it private stock. It's literally coming from my collection of leather that I've been accumulating over 15 years now. But that's funny. Captain Morgan. What's up, Ball? What's up, Tim? Herb Maynard said, Wicked and Craig is great stuff. I use them and Horween exclusively. Yeah, I like Wicked and Craig quite a bit. I think they do veg that Horween can't do. In particular, like the very light, like when I think of a veg, like a natural veg, skirting leather or tooling leather or whatever, Wicked's kind of the only game in town in my mind. Horween does some veg, but it's the veg strips, which are darker. They're a little bit more oily. a little bit more round in terms of temper. And then the shape is the most problematic thing. With the shape of the strips, you can't really cut much anything. The other problem with the horse hides in general is the selections are really, really bad, and it's hard to cut a lot of stuff out of horsehide. There's just a lot of the animal's older in the field, so it has more chances to get scratched up and scarred up in the field, and you'll see those scratches on the hide. They're tough to cut. Um, Red Cube, you're here. You made it. Jim Wiles, I'm addicted. Damn it. Thank God my wife approves. So Jim, don't buy anything else until you get your original wallet. Just hang out with me here, because this is how I scratch the itch for the leather, and I'm trying to like feed that to you too. Like maybe this can scratch the itch just by like seeing all the different stuff. Just stay tuned to the channel, man. I'll do some more stuff. I wanted to. I've been thinking about doing a video about, we're 10 years in business here, and Horween's like 116 years. It seems like nobody's really making stuff in Chicago anymore. There's people that make stuff, but it's sort of like faded away. I wanted to sort of do like a walk around this neighborhood that we're both located in, because this whole strip of Elston Avenue here, back in the day, there were just hundreds of tanneries here. And I kind of wanted to tell a story about, making stuff in Chicago, and, how the stockyards used to be here, and all the cattle would get slaughtered down on the south side, and they would take the hides up here and tan it. So there's a story to be told there, but I think at the end of the day, just like showing you like where we're at and what things look like in the tannery or in my workshop would be kind of fun. So I'm going to try to scratch that itch for you. I Shoot Asher says, I can almost imagine a pit tan, English tan, hard rolled Dublin finished the way Dublin always is, nice and waxy. Yes. That's actually an interesting conversation, because the original Dublin was called Essex. I remember the first time we made that leather was Skip. Skip came to work one day and said, what would happen if we put a steer hide in the pit next to a piece of shell cordovan? And that's how the Essex and then the Dublin came about. If you're not familiar with the Essex, it's the unwaxed version of Dublin. But originally it was all pit tanned. Now they do, they actually tan it in a drum a little faster, but they use the same tree barks. When we made those first pit tan Essex and Dublin sides, they were so heavy. It was like unreasonably dense, to the point where it was just like ridiculous. So we started to drum tan them. It's called a rapid tan. We tan it a little faster. But yeah, that you could do a pit tan Essex. Michael DeGregory, sorry I had to sign off and check out the other grain video. Yes, I'm glad that you checked that out. Your wallet turned out great, and we're really happy with the hidden slots too. And thank you for supporting us, Michael. I appreciate it. That last one shot is awesome. I think you might be talking about the lizard. That was pretty cool. Woke Lee leather someday. Tell me what Woke Lee leather is. I'm not familiar with that. I would love to learn more about it. And yeah, this color 4. Until the amaretto came around, the color 4 was my go-to. Jim Wiles, D'Angelo Sandoval says color 4 with reverse interior. Yep. There's something about the combination with the reverse interiors, the double reverse Herbie or that Bugs. There's something to that. There's something kind of magical in there. I like it a lot. There was a question in here about Alan Edmonds. Okay, Jim Wiles says, are Alan Edmonds shoes burgundy, the Horween color 8 shell? Yes, they are. So that's a really good question, and there's some insight. But yes, Alan Edmonds purchases color 8 shell cordovan from Horween in Chicago here. And Alan Edmonds is actually located up in Wisconsin. So they would ship the leather up to Wisconsin. They would craft the shoe. But kind of like how I mentioned that when you last the leather around the form for the leather to sort of wrap around, it changes color a little bit. And then the shoemaker will have to apply some more color to like even it back out, because each piece of leather is going to act a little bit differently. I think it's that reason that they rebrand the color away from Color 8 and call it burgundy. It's the same reason that when I had Wyatt from Grant Stone in here a year ago, it's the same reason that they call their natural Chrome Excel, they call it Dune Chrome Excel. And he explained that when they last the shoe or on the last, it changes color quite a bit, and then they'll apply some carnauba wax and it darkens the color a bit. They didn't want to come off as misleading, so they rebranded the natural to Dune, and they did the same thing for their brown Chrome Excel. I think they call it Crimson. So a lot of these shoemakers are actually finished. Or I can't think of a shoemaker that's not refinishing after crafting the shoe, which is probably why they're changing the color names like that. It can get a little confusing. The big confusing one, let's tell that story. So this is the color 4, and this is color 8. Excuse me. So this is color 8 with a western, and color 4 on the left, or on my left. There's also color 2 and color 16. So there's sort of like an urban legend, which is probably not true, but think of it as like color 2 is half the darkness of color 4. And then if you double a color 4, it's color 8, and you double a color 8, it's color 16. The color 2 shell is now known as garnet. And the long story here is it used to be called color 2. Then they were calling it ruby, and now they call it garnet. So they're all, in theory, they're all intended to be the same color. What was happening was Horween had to rename some of their shades. Like whiskey shell is technically called bourbon now. What they were doing before made the leather much more expensive and more rare. And it's still rare, but they're trying to get more of these colors out the door. Basically, all the light color shells had to be specifically or picked specifically like light and clean, and not all the leather is naturally light enough to be able to produce a color 2 shell. So what they did was they are picking, they call it straight run. So if they don't have to sort through and find specifically light pieces, they call it garnet. And if they don't have to pick a specifically light piece, they call it bourbon instead of whiskey. That's the concept there. They've been able to produce some more leather that way, but it's still not a ton. Not every hide or shell, when it comes out of the pit or is tanned and curried, not every piece of leather is light enough to be able to make some of those light colors. I Shoot Asher says, I only use the Tannery Row for Horween stuff. I watched the Leather 101 when it came out. That red leather the guy liked was not my taste. So that was the guy that liked that. His name is Amir, and he's now been employed here for a year. When you watch that video, that was like his first week here. So that was part of the reason I wanted to do that exercise with him, is he had a fresh set of eyes to the leather, and I thought it would be a good counterpoint to my bias. And it turned out to be that way. And he was just saying the things that he likes. I think when he saw that red leather, he just liked the color of it. He wasn't so much aware of things like texture and feel, or even like luster. He was just like, I like that it's bright and red. And that was the point of that leather appreciation, is there's more to the leather than just the color. And I'm glad that you checked it out. But Amir now, he has changed his opinion a little bit. I'm surprised this camera hasn't turned off yet. It's supposed to turn off after 30 minutes. By the way, I Shoot Astro. If you want to check out, I know that you are familiar with the Tannery Row, but you might want to check out Maverick Leather. The owner, Matt, over there is a really, really good guy. They have horse strips. They've had horse strips. I don't know if they currently have them, and they're cheaper. The reason that they're cheaper is Maverick buys low grades from Horween, and then they resell them. So they tend to be a little bit less expensive. Check out Maverick Leather too. Aaron, you're here, man. What's up, Aaron? Good to see you, dude. Brian Coffey says, "Can I get a super thin mugs with vertical slots on one side and horizontal on the other?" Yeah. I'm assuming you mean bugs, and I should have just read it the way you intended. Yeah, I can do thin Bugs Moran with vertical card slots on one side and horizontal on the other. The only challenge there is it depends on what leather you want. And what color you want. So I might not have like a thin reverse ultraviolet, but I might. So just have to look through what we have, and I have to gauge all the skins to see if we have something appropriate for you. But if you want, you can send me an email. My email address is phil@ashlandleather.com. Send me that email with exactly what you want, and then I'll go downstairs at our shop here and gauge the thickness on all the pieces that you're interested in, and I can even send you some photos of what we have. So I can do that. Keep losing my place. Red Cube says, "Phil, maybe you can explain this behavior to me. I bought a full grain wallet with a black color. It seems all the way dyed as reverse is black, but when I bend the leather reverse side, black starts to flare." There's a couple terms in there that I'm not sure what you mean. But maybe we can go over some terms. Is this a good? Okay, here's a good example. So most Chrome Excel leathers from Horween, I know that you're not talking about Chrome Excel. Most Chrome Excel is tanned to be this natural color. So you're talking about the backside of your full grain leather wallet is black in here. And it's probably black on the cross section. That means it is drum dyed and struck through black all the way from the grain through the cross section to the flesh side of the leather. You can also drum dye a leather, like this Whiskey Cavalier was drum dyed. It's pretty mild, but you can see the backside of it. Maybe you can't. You can see the backside of it is like a little bit of this yellow color, and then the cross section is also yellow. This was drum dyed to be a little bit yellow. I don't understand the term that you're saying, flare. The black starts to flare. You might mean like the pebbling and like delamination. But you said when I bend the leather, the black starts to flare. Well, so that's something we call the break. And this has like a pretty tight break on this piece of Cavalier. If it's like super creasing, and especially if it's on the backside, they may have applied like a top coat finish to the backside flesh side of that leather that's sort of delaminating it. It might be coming off or something like that. But if you want to send me a photo or like a little quick video of it, I can try to tell you what's going on. It's phil@ashlandleather.com. More Horween tannery vids would be fun. I would like to do more. Selfishly, I love the tannery. It's literally like taking a field trip when you were a kid to a museum or something to go see something crazy. Like going to in Chicago, we have the Museum of Science and Industry. It'd be like going to that. When I was a kid, I loved it. So I still like going to the tannery just to like see machines running and feel the energy. Like the place vibrates and you get to see all the different leathers. It's really special. So yeah, I want to go back there and make a video. No Wookiee as in Star Wars, Color 2 Electric Boogaloo. I don't know if there is any Wookiee leather. But I would probably leave the hair on if I got a Wookiee hide. I would not de-hair that, and I would just sort of like make a Wookiee rug. Amir made a private stock Capone. He clearly has a good eye and come a long way. Yeah, he's it didn't take much training for him. I think the leather sort of rubs off on people once you're around it enough. You start to just appreciate it by accident. I don't really have to like force feed him a bit or at all. But I did just, explain what I saw in the stuff, and it seems like his taste has probably become more aligned with mine. I know he still likes very vibrant colors. The colors I tend to like tend to be a little bit more earth tones. But that's just because I'm dealing with Horween, it's a little bit more rich in waxes and oils, so they kind of have to be earth tones. Somebody asked, I think somebody asked, how does the color 4 age? It will age sort of like all the other shells, but because it's starting a little bit more dark here, it's not going to have as dramatic of a patina as something like the natural shell, but you will observe the color start to develop a little bit darker and a little bit more golden, as well as these layers of luster start to develop. And I try to describe this in a lot of the videos, but you can see it starts off with sort of like a mirror-like shine. It's very bright and shiny. But when you start to wear the stuff, I think the presence of moisture and then some polishing and friction, kind of like that spoon polishing video, it's like the luster starts to come out from underneath. So that it's like a surface luster, and then there's like a luster that develops inside of the leather. And you get these like layered luster effects. It's kind of subtle and also very cool. That's how you'll expect the color 4 to age, but it's going to patina, but not as dramatically as like a natural. Michael DeGregory, I know you guys can do those hidden slots on the bugs. I may have to get a couple more. Thinking of combo of whiskey, black amaretto, intense blue, color 4, natural, endless possibilities. Yep. That's I'm with you, man. Actually, Jim Wiles in the chat here, he and I have been talking about his combination of whiskey and color 8. We call it the peanut butter and jelly. The whiskey and color 8 in particular has been a favorite combo for me. The other favorite that I like a lot is the natural and denim blue. There's something about natural and blue shell together that's like really magical. The other thing is we did a wallet like a year ago. What was it? All I can remember was, it was a cigar shell. It was a cigar shell Herbie, and we did a orange hand stitch on it. That wallet got us like the most attention that I've ever seen. There's something in this orange tiger thread that we have that sort of makes every color look great. So when you do that orange hand, let this go out in one ear and out the other. There's something about that orange tiger thread that makes all the colors look amazing. So I've really liked it with the denim blue shell. And I really liked it with that cigar. It's gone well with a lot of colors. And the reason I want you to sort of forget about it is because it's expensive. And I can't necessarily say I recommend it unless you absolutely love like a super thick thread look. I don't want to charge you more than you have to pay. Some people think that the hand stitch stuff is more durable. Technically it is, but it's like comparing the durability of two rocks. Like the amount of force that's required to rip one of those threads, you're never going to be able to apply to that thread. And I have a pair of hand sewn shoes that have hand stitching and machine stitching on them. Both of the stitches abraded at the same exact time, and it took about 15 years. So they don't last longer, and it's more expensive. I don't suggest it unless you love the way it looks, which it looks pretty sweet. It's a little bit more casual, the hand stitch. I find the machine stitch to be a little bit more refined. We can do it either way. I just don't want you to spend more money than you have to. All right. Let's wrap it up here, guys. Any more questions? We'll get them in here. And then, like I said, I think it's beer and baby o'clock. Michael DeGregory has a great question. He says, what's behind the name Ashland? Haven't come across the answer to that in your vids just yet. When we first started, this answer is strange because it's like stuff doesn't need to be as deep as I think it does sometimes. But there was a nonsense story told in the city of Chicago here that is not true. This is not fact. But the story was Ashland Avenue was made on the ashes of the Chicago fire. So the thought or the story was like all the buildings burnt down and they filled, this part's half true. They filled in a lot of the city with the burnt buildings, like the rubble and stuff. So the city actually got a little taller in some sections. And the urban legend was like they filled in all of Ashland leather with that rubble, with that remains from the fire. That's not true. I like that notion. I thought it was interesting, kind of like a phoenix or something. The other thing that I liked about Ashland Avenue in the city of Chicago here is it kind of runs through like the heart of the city. It starts way up on the north side and goes all the way to the south side and through the west side. It's like very much in the center of the city in my mind. The other thing is that it's right here. It's on the intersection of Elston. The tannery is on the intersection of Elston and Ashland Avenue. That was part of it. And when we first started 10 years ago, Dan and I actually thought that we might want to do more women's stuff. We thought that we would be doing women's bags. So but we also knew we wanted to do wallets, maybe. So we wanted sort of like a neutral sounding name. And that's how we came up with the Ashland stuff. When we started to put the designer that worked with me on that logo, her name is Elaine. She owns a company called Ship Shape Studio that you might want to check out if you're into getting a designer. Elaine came up with the art for the logo, and I really liked that instead of doing like a circle around the A, like a perfect circle, it's like inconsistent. It's not perfect. And it sort of lends itself to like a lot of what we do. Like the reverse side of this piece is random and not perfect. I like that a lot. There's also like the A is like a hand-drawn A, and it's not like a font. So it's like very personal and like imperfect. I like that name Ashland kind of came based around that concept, and then like the period at the end of the A is like, hey, it's to the point and there's like no nonsense. So there's like a long story to the brand that like is irrelevant because it's kind of nonsense, but like that's what I think about with our brand. So take that for what it's worth. It's like I could make it really deep, but like it's irrelevant at a certain point. But long story short is like Ashland Avenue's here in Chicago. There's some like cool stories that aren't true about it. And I've lost my spot again. Jim Miles, vibrant like your wife's ultraviolet shell. Yeah, the ultraviolet, and we haven't had magenta shell in a while, but those shells, when people come to our shop, those are the colors that people gravitate towards. They're really vibrant and cool. I Shoot Astro says, natural and denim blue is good because it's classic American blue jeans and white t-shirts. Yeah, that's probably it. There's something about the natural and denim blue together look really cool. Lan Yi O says, loving my hand-stitched Amaretto Tony. It was the last one on the St. Patrick's Day video. Cool. I'm glad that was recent. You just got that. I'm glad you picked that one up, and Lupe in the shop here made that one special for St. Patrick's Day. Lupe was really pumped about making that one for the holiday. So I'm so glad that you got it, and thank you for supporting us too. It's good to see you too, Aaron. Aaron says, life's been busy. Also wanted to say thank you for the nice words you said about the valet tray I made. You did a good job. I was really impressed. And I'm really glad that you sent me photos of your craft. All right, Jim, take care, man. Yeah, and since Jim is saying goodbye, I guess I'll say goodbye too. I appreciate you guys so much for hanging out, chatting with me, nerding out on leather. I also really, really appreciate Ivan Mora. Thank you for the tip, Ivan. It's unnecessary, but like super nice of you. And everybody else, just I love answering your questions. I love hanging out. I love talking and looking at leather. So I hope you guys have a good weekend. If you want, give me some suggestions for beers, maybe in the chat, and I might make a trip to the liquor store after this and take a look at your comments of what to drink, or maybe some like bourbon or something if you got good suggestions. I could use a new bourbon, to be honest. But either way, it's been a pleasure, guys. Been a nice week, and I'll see you again next week. All right, I'll see ya.